Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Rich by Monday. I'm your host, Jared Wilkins, aka the Google Grad.
And I'm Dorrance Creighton. Thank you for joining us.
And
welcome back.
Episode 11. 11. You know what's crazy? You just be waiting to hit those like benchmarks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hit them and it's like, now what?
Yeah. It's like, when's 30 coming?
Yeah, we hit 10. Now I'm like, wait, we got to do another one.
10 more. 10 more until 20. That's how math works.
Man, it's like, I thought it was over.
Nope. We got to show up again next week and the week after.
Life is crazy.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
Not much. Trying to stay cool. It's been hot the last few days, like in the 90s. So I'm kind of missing that cold weather we used to have and I complained about. What's going on with you?
Life.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I know how to put it. Just life, man. Just trying to stay balanced. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of upset because I was holding. So for those who don't know, I do trade options, and I was holding an AMC call about a week ago. $14 strike, and I sold it. I sold it maybe Thursday or Friday. I can't remember. But yeah, then AMC decides to go intergalactic and hit like $72 a share. So
we didn't have to do episode 11.
Nah, we could have
been balling out right now. Man.
Yeah, so I had quite a few contracts because they were cheap. They were only like $100, like $100 and some dollars maybe. I can't remember. All I know is I don't have them no more when I need to have them. So that's been about it, man. Just I've been seeing. I'm happy that it's working for everybody. The one thing that I am seeing a lot of is people asking like, what the next thing is.
Of course. Yeah. It's like they got their first hit. And once you get your first hit of your meme stock, it's hard to get back to fundamentals or find them at all. So
yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy because it really is like, when that day happened, when it actually like exploded, like my whole Facebook timeline was all of a sudden like investors. Like everyone's like, yeah, my stocks is up, AMC booming, like, and it's cool. Like it's cool to see that, but it's like, what?
Yeah, all the winners came out to post.
Yeah,
I can't believe that.
Where y'all been? You know what I mean?
I can't believe that. Where's that when everything was tanked? Everybody's real quiet.
But there's so many apps now that give people access. Like even I was talking to my barber, maybe not the last time I was there, but the time before, and even he mentioned it. Like he was using like the Stash app, I think it is. I shouldn't say their name because they ain't cutting checks. But so it's just so much. You could buy through Cash App, you could buy through Robinhood. I mean, all these different things that give people just immediate access. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
access is good. It's good for people who's just kind of getting their feet wet. But you would hope they would go into more substantial platforms to really learn, because there's not much data on those apps, if not any.
No, there's none. You're right. You're right. But I don't think for what they're doing, they need data. Like it's a combined like group effort to just make
pumping
money.
stock.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I get that.
And I think I think when you're someone who I end up missing a lot of those opportunities because I'm like dumb smart, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm smart enough to know like what to avoid, but
Mm-hmm.
like I'm dumb enough to get in my own way.
Mm-hmm. Like in what way?
Like I'll know exactly what's happening, but I won't do it just because like of the people who are doing it.
Mm.
If that make like you know what I mean? Like it's like if the guy who's cutting you like you hire a gardener and then he comes up to you and says, "Yeah, man, you buying AMC?" Like I'm not
Mm.
buying AMC.
All right.
So you know I'm dumb enough to kind of get in my way in that
Mm-hmm.
sense and miss it, just because I of certain things that I know
Yeah.
just from experience.
Well, the retail investor pushes it up. I think, I don't know. It's kind of hard to even know an exit when you're dealing with
Well,
something like that. So volatile.
that's
So,
that's why I avoid it because
yeah.
I mean now they're trying to make it a fundamental play because it's you know they're saying oh the movies are opening back up so
Mm-hmm.
um you know but I'm like the movies were dying before the pandemic. Why would they just all of a sudden be this amazing
Mm-hmm.
thing?
Yeah.
You know, like
It's long term
it's
now.
yeah, and all you did was give this company a bunch of money. That's what happened. You gave AMC a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of money. They issued more shares, got some more money. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the CEO is actually going to go out and buy a bunch of like movie theater properties
Okay. Like, like
with the
buy
new capital.
the real estate.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I read.
Diversify.
I don't know. I don't know if that's. I gotta really. You know, we don't really rely on
Right.
stats and information here, but that's
Yeah.
what I read. I read with the new capital, he's just gonna go and buy up all the old movie properties.
Hmm.
And I don't understand why they need to own. I mean, it's a very specific property type, but I don't see why they would need to own the property. Like, what would? Why would a
Hmm.
movie business need to own the property?
I don't know. Maybe tax advantages, maybe.
I don't know. I just don't. I feel like they'd be better off as a tenant because if that location fails, they could just bounce.
Yeah, you would think so. When you said he was buying movie theaters, I thought it was like failing movie theaters. Maybe he's rehabbing them. But why would an AMC
No,
CEO do that? I mean, they need like specific type of building.
I don't know. I got to do more research because even when I
Yeah.
read it was one of those things where you read and it's like I got to come back to that
Yeah.
because
He's like, what?
yeah,
He's like, you know what? No, I don't have time to. I don't have time.
like this is gonna take a little bit more research.
Yeah.
Um,
Which
so,
is
but
tough.
I don't know.
How do you decide which rabbit hole to go down?
Um, you don't really. I mean, for me. It kind of depends on location.
Mm-hmm.
Like it depends on where I'm at. Because and when I say where I'm at, I don't necessarily mean like you know different city or I mean like just where I'm at like in the moment. Like if I'm in the living
Mm-hmm.
room, if I'm in the bedroom, like,
The
like
location, depending on the location of my body,
yeah,
I'll go down
like
the rabbit hole.
because if or you know it's just different. You have I mean for me at least, I get like a different uh vibe in certain locations. You know, in the
Mm-hmm.
house and
Mm-hmm.
or even when you're out, like just different places.
Right, right. Hmm.
So I'll just I'll just do it. If I'm in front of my computer, I can do it all day. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean it just depends. It depends. But I got to do more research into that because I don't see it as a long term thing. But it doesn't matter because that's not the point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the point
No,
is to
the
make it a
point,
slot machine.
yeah,
That's the
point
point.
is to pump it and hopefully somebody else will stay while you sell and you can take profit.
Yeah, that's all it
For
is.
the people who are still holding on, it might go up more. Those people that get stuck.
It's just weird, man. It's weird to see. I'm like I said, I'm happy for everybody. It's just weird to see like I won't say weird, but maybe it's because we have the experience and we've been
Mm-hmm.
around for so long. When you see like certain types of people talking about things, it just becomes like, okay, this is the end. Like that's what like that's what I automatically go to. Is like, all right. Like it's just because everyone becomes like the expert and
Right,
everything is
right.
like, oh, it's going up, it's going up. Buy
Mm-hmm.
this, is going up. Oh, this is a great company. The stock is going up. And it's like, no, that's
Mm-hmm.
not that's not how it works. And to me, all of it just sounds like bubble talk. That's what I call it, bubble talk.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, because you can easily like do something that probably wouldn't be that you wouldn't be able to do it any other time. Like even right now,
Yeah.
there's people making money at rates that are just like ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Like going from like $1,000 to a couple $100,000 um, in a matter of months.
Yeah.
And then at that point, then it's like, okay, now I can position myself like I've been doing this for 20 years.
Yep. Yep.
And that's when it's like, okay, this is bubble talk.
Mm-hmm. So so what are some indicators other than people bringing up then I think one indicator is just you start seeing like a flood of money in the market where you
Mm-hmm.
usually didn't see it in a certain volume. Um, and I think you can really look at like the average day consumer and kind of see. I haven't looked at numbers in a while, but you can kind of see the everyday consumer and see how comfortable they are with the current market position
Mm-hmm.
based on just how much money they're spending. Um, I'd like to know that number and what it is now.
Well, I
But
mean, wouldn't it
like
wouldn't it
consumer
just be
confidence.
wouldn't it just be like an abundance of speculators? Maybe that's what it is. Like when you have like
Mm-hmm,
an overabundance of just gamblers and
mm-hmm,
not people who are in the game, just people who are speculating, because those are the
mm-hmm.
things that drive like short-term price, even especially in real estate. Like we talked about it a number of times here with the whole Inglewood Stadium thing.
Mm-hmm.
People thinking their property would go up because of the stadium. And then so if you think that way, then some random person who might have access to capital is also going to think the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
We don't talk. I know we talk a lot about data and past performance, but we don't talk about like the psychology of people who are also playing the game, and which plays like a huge part in what
Mm-hmm.
moves or what doesn't move. So sometimes I'm careful to not stay too close to the numbers because the people make up the numbers, and people are different. Their psychology is different, and why they buy things. And when we're sitting on the sidelines, like these numbers don't make sense. The data doesn't support what's actually happening. Um, it doesn't take away from the fact that it's still happening.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely.
so it's like
Absolutely.
we have to kind of step back from the data. Sometimes not too far, but to realize the psychology of people buying products, and rather it's you know something off the shelf in a retail store, or the new meme stock, or a real estate purchase, or a car purchase. Um, the confidence of the everyday consumer, um, I think we really have to take into account because as we see, is really moving the needle. And what might be different now is the internet. The
Mm-hmm.
internet is able to move the needle much faster and quicker because the everyday person, um, that the everyday consumer that's spending money, now they can get their cues from a meme. Something is said on the internet, and it spreads faster and
Mm-hmm.
quicker. So I think that's something new we're seeing now within the last like maybe 3 to 4 years. And within the last 1 or 2 years, it's been like accelerated to like a ridiculous amount where someone can put some type of information out, and it can be easily widely accepted by the masses overnight.
Yeah, immediately.
And
Yeah.
whatever that call to action is, if it's buy this stock, or if it's buy this course, or this is how you buy a car, whatever it is, if the following is big enough to push it to the masses, like it can move the needle a lot, and it affects the market in ways where we're like, what is this? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's irregular.
So yeah, yeah, from past performance. So I think over these, we're gonna have to figure out um, some type of um, some type of percentile to add to our formula um, for these wild variations. Well, it seem wild variations, but they're pushed by the internet.
Yeah, I don't
So
think I think that's something that's just gonna be here
yeah,
because of online forums, online communities, unless they do something to like regulate or restrict access in some sense to those types of things. But even then, they'll just go to the dark web or something. But it's
yeah. It's
I
like you
don't think
can't regulate
that's
free thought.
nah.
That's what I think that's what we're dealing with.
It's
I don't
just
care
funny.
what your numbers say.
It's
I
just
don't like. I'm going
it's
in,
it's just
and we
weird.
going to the moon.
It's it's just weird. It's not weird. It's just to see it happen this way, and you see certain people come out of it, and you could tell like this has had like a real in terms of like the discipline. Like okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking something from this, and now it's a part of who I am. It's a part of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But then you could like see the moment in some people. Like this is only the moment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's not lasting beyond this point.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have like an overabundance of players and speculators, that means you'll eventually have an overabundance of losers.
Oh yeah, always.
And I think
Only time will tell. It'll
yeah,
sort them out. The time will sort them out.
and I think what happens is when we because we might talk like this or we may say certain things, but it doesn't mean that we don't want good things for people. We're just giving you like perspective from some because we got involved in real estate in 2006, 2007. Well, you were
Mm-hmm.
06, I was 07. So like what's happening in the market right now in the stock market was kind of happening in real estate back then
Mm-hmm.
because you could be anybody and you can go buy 10 homes today.
Right.
Like it didn't even matter. You didn't even have to have a job. You didn't have to have nothing. You could just go buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you bought that one, you can go buy 9 more. By the
Yep.
time the lender found out you had inquiries from other banks. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I think people when you say things like that to try and ground people, they almost feel like you you're wishing it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh well, you just a hater because you didn't buy AMC or you didn't buy Dogecoin or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the thing was. You
Right.
just you know uh you know tell me you didn't buy it without telling me you didn't buy it, like something like that, right?
Right.
Um, so and I think they just believe that you want it to be that way because it didn't work for you and it will continue forever.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, what I think it is they don't want you to be right because that means they would have
Mm-hmm.
to change something about them
Right.
because now they've gone to this new place. They found their confirmation because nobody's looking
Mm-hmm.
for criticism. The internet gives you areas of confirmation.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So now they found it. I can confirm who I thought I was based on what I've been seeing. So
Yep.
if you come in and say, okay, well, this may not last because of dot dot dot, or if you're looking at the numbers, it doesn't look like it's sustainable. Doesn't mean I want it to happen. I'm just looking at the data. But then
Mm-hmm.
but then that's when you become the hater.
Yeah.
Or
Well, if
you know,
if you're looking for, if you find your validation from your wins, you need to look deeper because that's that's not always going to be the case. So if you, I would say that if you feel like your validation, your self-worth, and your success comes from your wins, you need to dig deeper because once the wins aren't there, who are you then?
No, it's
So
true.
um, I think when we talk about these different concepts, it comes from a position of depth because it's not about just the wins. Wins are nice. I like to win, um, but I know that success is just not linear like that. So even and maybe it's just because we've just been doing it for so long. Even the wins they're not monumental like that anymore.
Nah.
At least for me, it's it's more steady as you go because there'll be wins and then there'll be losses. And if you get on the roller coaster of you know pulling your validation from the wins, you're going to be a very sad, depressed person.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
um, I
I
think
agree.
it's important to have a level of balance and and just keep it moving no matter what happens.
I remember when I don't know if you might remember this, but when we were at the office in Pomona. This is like 2008 or 9. Might
Mm-hmm.
have been 8. And you got your first keys.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I can't remember what deal it was. I just remember somebody giving you your keys to the
Mm-hmm.
property you just bought. And and it was like, okay. And they were like, you aren't excited? And it was like, I mean, for what? Like,
Yeah.
it was like, for
Yeah.
what? Like, this is not the end. Like, this is not, you know what it is, man. I think we just grew up in a different era because it's this is one of the reasons why I can't sell as much as I would like to, because I know I probably make a lot of money doing it. I can't sell residential real estate,
Mm-hmm.
like, because I don't have it in me. I don't have the I don't have the joy,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
of, hey, here's your new house,
Yeah. Yeah.
or, because it's something that I don't really like for myself personally. I don't really believe in.
Mm-hmm.
First, at least, I don't really believe in buying the residential property first.
Right. Right.
So it's hard for me to sell someone on that and be excited
Mm-hmm.
about it, because the whole time I'm thinking like, I wouldn't do this, but
Right.
um,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
And
think it's when you're like in the service of others and what they need, it's kind of like you have to take out what you would do away from the equation, which is
I
like
can't do
super
that.
important.
I can't do that.
Um, because um, no one would ever get anywhere if it was based on what I wanted and how and how I would do things. Because there's a lot of things I would do differently, than a lot of other people. But I'm weird in that way. Even when you talk about um, that day I got my first keys, and I was probably like 20 years old. Yeah, about 20 years old. And
Yeah,
I think I was really thinking, okay, now I'm closer to kind of being able to buy my car because I knew the real estate came first. So I think that was
it's
my
funny.
main thing
I
at
believe
that
that.
time. I was just like,
I
okay,
definitely believe that.
all right, this is under the belt. Let's get this together, and then I can go buy a car. Because um, even though I knew the best way to do it, I'm still a 20-year-old kid, and I want to have a car. You know, at
Yeah,
that
and
time I was,
it was like I know I need to have this before I go do that.
right, right.
Yeah,
So it was more like a delayed gratification, and it wasn't. I mean, it's a it's a nice feat, but I think my my goal, the goal I guess that made me happy or I was going towards was buying a car at that time because
mhm.
people can't see you in your house they see in your car. And at that time, it was important for me to, to have that perception. So the car had to come, the car had to be there to solidify my success. I think completely different now, but back then as 20 year old, 21 years old, especially at the time where we were trying to teach people about real estate and trying to, teach them these different concepts of investing and buying your real estate first before you buy, appreciate assets, et cetera, et cetera. Um, you know, our peers that were our same age, they weren't listening to that. They didn't,
No,
it
not
was
at all.
no, buying real estate was so far out. But now, 15 years later, now they're just everybody's really on it.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think if I think back, that's what I was okay. Now we get the car, and then people will listen, which is so backwards. It's like
It
you would
is.
think, hey guys, I bought these houses. Um, this is how it works. They're like, yeah, okay. You're not popping bottles in the club though.
That's
So
like because it's
now
almost
it's
like
like it's completely reversed.
it's almost like you did it. You didn't necessarily do it for them, but you did it like with them in mind in terms of like what it would do to your business.
Right, right.
Yeah. No, I
But
mean
it's
that makes
like,
sense. That makes
and
sense.
it seems like I guess it can seem manipulative in that way, but people are how they are, So
Yeah.
again, we can't get away from the psychology of people. They buy into what they see,
Mm-hmm.
and buying into buying your real estate for your car is still something I preach now. It's still something you do.
Mm-hmm.
Supposed to do, to keep your debt to income low. But yeah, people wasn't feeling that back then though.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. I mean, I
Not
remember
feeling
even
that.
I remember talking to I forgot his name. I wish I knew his name because I'd look him up. But I mentioned it before where there was an older guy who came to like our office one day,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he was a friend of Arthur's or someone he
Mm-hmm.
knew, maybe just somebody he talked to that day that came, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and after once we were leaving, I think I think you guys went home, and I stayed and talked with him,
Mm-hmm.
outside the office for like another 2 hours,
Right.
and so I'm outside talking to him, and he's telling me all the deals he did and how long he's been in real estate. And he said a lot of things. Just he gave me like a whole macroeconomic like sermon per
Mm-hmm.
se.
Right.
Um, and at the time, I just remember, you know, it just sounded racist.
Mm-hmm. What?
Like,
I
because
did not think it was hitting that quarter.
no, but like it did because of course a lot of given this country's history, many things if you're unaware or if you're not involved in some way, many things are directly linked to you know racism,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and your understanding of it comes from that. You know what I'm saying? Because you
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any other medium or attachment to it, no point of reference.
Right.
So a lot of things he was saying just sounded like it's like okay, yeah, it makes sense, but I don't like the
Well,
way you're saying it is like is not
what was
it's like
just
whatever.
some of the things to give us some context? It
Just
might not be exact,
just the
but
whole like just economics,
mm-hmm.
you know, taxes,
Mm-hmm.
welfare,
Mm-hmm.
um, a lot of things we talk about on here that probably sound like racism to people, or
Mm-hmm.
or
Like elitist or
anti,
something.
yeah, like
Yeah.
because at the time, we're 19, 20 years old. I don't know, like I have no history with the
Mm-hmm.
economy. I'm just out
Right.
here doing whatever I can to make transactions to buy houses and then buy a
Right.
car, right?
Yep.
Um, and he's going on and on and on about all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, man,
Mm-hmm.
I just I we just cashed an $11,000 check. Like my my car got 22s on it, right? Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like my car is white, my rims is white, my doors
Right.
ain't got no door handles. Like my boy got 20. Like I don't know what you're talking about. Like
Right. Right.
and in many ways, it was kind of like that same theory. Like you don't want him to be right. I knew in a sense, I knew it made sense. Like everything he was saying made sense. It just
That's what I was
sounded
gonna
like
say. I was gonna
it
bring it
sounded
around and
like
say, huh?
racism. Like
Yeah. At that time, it came full circle. You felt like, people don't want you to be right. And then 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you hearing the same things and you're like, I don't want you to be right. Like what I'm doing is working.
yeah, yeah. I mean that's kind of what and I think what happens is, because I know we speak about things from a certain perspective. But what I don't want to be like left out of that is the fact that we come from these environments. We were once these people. We're not saying these things as like, we didn't make those mistakes. Like we're telling you from making the mistakes. Like that, that these types of things exist. I know why you think that way because I once thought that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it's not me coming here telling you, you're stupid or something. It's like, no, I remember I was you. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't do that dumb shit. Cause,
Right.
we've all been there. And so with him, even with him telling me that, like, I didn't want him to be right. Cause that means my whole concept of how the world was going to work for me would have to change.
Mm. Yeah. Yep. And it's hard to start from scratch.
Man, well, yeah, we know exactly because we didn't listen. That's what I'm
Starts
trying
from
to say.
scratch, from thought process to
Yeah.
your whole worldview crashing, and the rebuild stage of, you know again, goes back to who are you really,
Mm-hmm.
now that you don't have um, the rims or the money or the houses or the influence. um, who are you now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm like. You got to dig deep. You got to dig deep
Yeah, I
to
mean,
hold on
when
something that's outside of those things.
when you, I think when you address it a certain way, and it's hard to like articulate what that means. Like when you address it a certain way to someone who's in the moment,
Right.
you know what I mean? They're in their moment, and you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, okay, well, it's part of the reason why I don't like to talk to people because
Mm-hmm.
because what happens is if you spend enough time with them, you'll tell them something that completely contradicts like what they think is reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why people don't listen to old folks because they'll tell them something and I don't want to hear that. Like, because it's not in line with what they think
Yeah.
reality is.
Yeah. It's hard to stop your fun though. Like I get it. Like I think at some points, I think the people know too. They know, but it's so fun. It's so fun. It's so exciting. And you know, we always think the run is going to last a little bit longer. So I get it. I get it.
Yeah, but it's I don't know. I don't want people to, because now again we have the internet, and so it's gonna suck to see just to see it, just to be able to witness it. Because what I've
Mm-hmm.
been noticing is there's been like a recent uprising in like um I don't know what to call it. I don't know if I want to call it like reality based content,
Mm-hmm.
but there's been like an uprising in a very specific type of creator who's coming out and saying, you know, like guys, relax. What you're seeing and experiencing right now is not how things work. And I've been seeing that from a lot of
What?
people. Yeah, like uh a number of shows. There's a number of shows that have come, especially on YouTube. There's a lot of people coming out like because I think what's happening is when you get a bunch of or an overabundance of speculators who then can position themselves to be experts, and then so the
Mm-hmm.
media begins to accept them as experts. What happens
Mm-hmm.
is people who are the actual professionals, like they now have to identify as one of those guys. Because when people come to them, who are the people they bring up?
Yeah. Yeah. Most likely people is in the limelight. So you saying people are saying basically like kind of like putting out, okay, this is for entertainment purposes only type thing. This is a reality TV show type
Well,
thing.
no, so you're a broker in real life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? But then there will be a guy, on the internet who will position himself as like the ultimate real estate guy.
Mm.
And then
Oh,
so
okay.
your clients come to you,
Right. Yeah.
right? They come to you and then they bring him up or bring her
Mm-hmm.
up, right? And now you have to say, relax. That's not
Mm-hmm.
how this goes.
Yeah. And
You
then
know what I'm
you're up
saying?
against just a windfall of, well, this has 10,000 views and 3,000 comments. So how can they be wrong when all these other people are like, this is great information?
Exactly. And I
So
think I think a
yeah.
lot of people are you're seeing those people like come out more and more now. People who are
Mm-hmm.
actual like business people, businessmen and women, they run certain types of businesses because
Mm-hmm.
their industry has been like saturated with gurus.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I forgot the word Veblinian,
Right.
Veblean. I don't know how to say it.
Viblinian.
Veblinian entrepreneurs, like people who are more into the lifestyle and the ideology of entrepreneurship, but the products don't equate to much,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so their industry has been attached to that. So now they have to come out and kind of defend themselves,
Mm.
through the
Yeah.
same mediums, through social media, through
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of what we did in a
And,
sense. It's like
and
I'm
it's
tired of you telling me about whoever. Like now I got to come on here and tell you what really happened.
right. Yeah. Yeah. It's they're in the business of social media, and they're really good at it. They're really good at it. I think um, the most difficult thing we're going to deal with is doing the work in real life and trying to put it on social, where they can just
Mm.
put it on social. Like that's the work. That's the work in real life, and it's the work in the social space. And I'm the more I see it, I think it's going to be even harder to combat, because if we're not able to teach people how to think, um, Joe Blow or whoever is going to be, it's going to be just another person. Another person will pop up,
Mm-hmm.
and then the next 18 to 21-year-old, 24-year-old is going to fall victim to the same tropes. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe we do a little bit of work, um, just putting the content out. Um, but another thing about people who really do it in real life, it's so difficult to make it entertaining. It's like I just put something on my Instagram. I was like, I seen somebody just like they doing TikTok dances and stuff and teaching people how to do XYZ or whatever. And I'm like, look, I'm not dancing for y'all.
Yo, I'm
Like,
somebody's daddy. Okay, like I'm not about to be. No, you're not gonna have me doing a cabbage patch to
doing the running man
some
out
song.
here
Yeah,
to
nah.
compete with this person who's really does this. He really does this social media.
And I'm not against that. Like I understand what it's for, right? And um, it's just I think, like I was saying, I think we're seeing many creators begin to pop up who are actual industry professionals to bring
Yeah, yeah, for
some
sure.
type of some type of real foundation to like what's out there.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like just diluting the bullshit with like
Yeah.
real facts.
Because you have to.
So,
There's so much of it. Like you every day there's another dude who's like
mhm,
the guy. And
yeah,
it gets frustrating because I think again, because we talk about it in a very specific way, but I don't think people understand like how much as someone who's like client facing and you work in a service based like business.
hmm
I don't think people understand like how often this kind of stuff gets thrown at you.
Yeah, for
or
sure.
even if it's not like in a very literal sense, it's just a line of thinking that gets, that comes to you,
Yeah.
and you know where it comes from because you
Yep.
had 20 or 30 other people already ask you the same
Mm-hmm.
question,
Mm-hmm.
or tell
Yeah.
you the same thing,
You're right.
and they're
But
like, oh well, I heard it this way, and then when and now you got to be like, all right, like here we go again. Like, no, you should not quit your job and start a wholesale business. No. Like
right.
just random, you know what I mean? Just random, like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the part that just gets really, really like frustrating. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to see like an uprising in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
um, of people who really do business.
Yeah. I mean, it just it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to compete. You know,
Yeah.
and although they're not your typical competitor, they are taking up space, and they're withdrawing a lot of air out of the space that you occupy.
Mm-hmm.
And it just might have to be an opportunity to compete, um, to really tighten our game up, really push what we push, push the content, quality concepts that work in real life,
Mm-hmm.
and you know see who does well.
But they're so
That's all.
excited. You know what it is? That's what it is. They're so excited.
Well, yeah, because they haven't been jaded yet,
They're so,
and
they
and
be pumped.
and we bad at faking it. I'm not gonna fake it. I was telling somebody that the other day. I'm just like, I was meeting with a new agent actually. We're gonna do some onboarding next week, and I'm just sitting there talking to him like kind of like how we talking and just talking about the game and how it go. And she's like, you just seem like authentic. I'm like, this is the only way I can give it. Like, I'm not gonna bounce off the walls and tell you how it could be. I'm gonna give you the real facts that if you come in this business, you gotta work. And the average realtor, I think the last numbers that came out make like 45,000 a year. So it was just another reason why I know these gurus are just like, no, everyone's not doing well. So with that being said, I just give them the real numbers, the real facts, and let them know exactly how it's going to go down. And I think people appreciate that. I'm not
To an
selling them
extent.
the dream of real estate or the dream of entrepreneurship or working for yourself or being your own boss and all these different, you know, terms that people use to get people excited. Um, because I know that excitement is fleeting very fast
Yeah, it's short
because
lived.
this business takes consistent effort, and it's like a compound effect. It's like the little you do over and over, you know, over each day, it compounds and it builds into something else. So um, I'm just honest about that. I'm honest about how it goes and how it works, and I think some people do appreciate that, um, even though that type of um, conversation is not mainstream, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in real life, people appreciate it, and that's been my experience so far.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I do think, even when they don't want to, even when they don't really want to digest it and accept it for what it is, I do think people understand like what you're saying, um, but they know that it comes from the right place,
Yeah.
right? It's just that they don't want to believe it. That's a totally different thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't want to believe it, but I think they know. Um,
Yeah. So
and
I
I
think
was actually
good.
I was reading well, actually was watching a video, same video that brought up that word, the Vebleninian or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this guy, he brought up, he's a professor at some university, and he did a study. Um, I don't know, what he used as the field, but he did some kind of study of where he covered entrepreneurs and the types of products and the quality of products.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's a few things that stuck out. The video is long. He has a lot of stats. Um, I don't remember them. I'm not gonna go through them. But two in particular stuck out like extremely, and one was the lifetime earnings. And the lifetime earnings of someone who works a 9 to 5 versus an entrepreneur, I think the entrepreneur was, I don't want to throw out a percentage and be wrong, but it was significantly less. So as someone who works for themselves, right, and you got all these vacations and you on retirement, you on the beach and whatever, right? As someone doing that, you make less money than someone who went to college and got a job. Yep. Lifetime.
I believe that.
And that one stuck out, which I knew already because there's only so many people who actually make money. But it was just interesting to hear like that number be like quantified. And then he also talked about, actually two more. He talked about the quality of products that come from the recent rise in Viblinian entrepreneurship. And he discovered that their products are trash.
Yeah, because low product, low quality.
They're more so interested in, they more so sell the lifestyle of entrepreneurship versus the actual business.
Yeah.
Right. So they're not disrupting anything. They're not changing anything. And they're not real entrepreneurs, right? So because you're not really employing people.
Yeah. Or selling products or your service.
So he kind of talked about that. He talked about the average age of entrepreneurs, which was like 45, I believe. And I think those were the ones that kind of really stuck out to me. You know what I mean? Especially the one about lifetime earnings, because people are like incubating entrepreneurship now. But again, that's why I said everything feels like an MLM, because if I started one thing, okay, buy my product to do this, but then you can take my product, you know, water it down or step on it, whatever, and then make your own version of it and then go out and sell it. And then the person who buys it from you does the same thing. They take your product, water it down, and sell it. And it just keeps going and going and going. Eventually you'll get to the point where it's like, well, I can just sell you entrepreneurship. Yeah. And that's the continuous cycle that's happening. And so all of the products that come out of it don't lead to any meaningful jobs, any sustainable economic activity. It's just one big cycle.
Yeah. I could see that. So you tell me the best business to be in is the one with no product.
Yeah, because a guy just sold a statue. Did you read about that?
I did see that.
He sold an invisible statue that was invisible. And I was like, bro, is this not Bitcoin?
Right. That reminds me of Pootie Tang. You remember that?
I love Pootie Tang. Yes, movie? The song. Yeah.
The song came out. He's like, Pootie Tang's new song. It's called. And everybody went crazy and it went platinum.
Pootie Tang is Drake. That's how I see it. Drake can say he could do anything.
Yeah.
And I feel like in our lifetime, Drake will do what Pootie Tang did on some level, and it's gonna work. I promise you.
I can see that. I mean, Drake be having some hits though. He be having some bops, which I don't know. It's just like it's like you have to. Do I just like trash music, or is the landscape of music in general trash? And I like the best of it.
What is the best of it?
Yeah, I don't know. Now we get deep.
like who is the best dumpster fire? Let me pick one.
Right. I mean, I just picked up the Purple Rain album, so I don't
even know what that is. I don't know what that Prince. Is. Oh, you talking about Prince? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
I'm like, yo. So I'm always in the past, but every now and then I come to the present and listen to a Drake bop.
I mean,
I
it's
like nice
inevitable.
things. I'm
It's
young.
inevitable. You know what I mean? It's part of our generation. But then you're gonna have moments where where you just have like a moment where you just think like, what am I listening to? And that probably happens to me at least like twice a week.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah,
my
I think
dream.
I think I think we just said some words. Said a whole lot
Yeah.
of words.
What's so something that's been since we're we talk about politics as well. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but there's a lot going on in California, right? So I messed up and followed a couple Instagram accounts that
Mhm.
basically cover like the homeless activity,
Okay.
uh, and that was a bad idea
Mhm.
because I don't know these people, so I don't know if they're telling the truth or not, or if like the selection of content is you know they're picking and choosing what they want to show.
Mhm.
But the situation is bad.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen what's happening on the beach,
Mhm.
like in Venice?
Yeah, places like Venice. Yeah. Yeah. I've been watching a lot of them. I've been watching a lot of them, and um, I don't know. I don't know. I know they created two different communities. I can't remember the name of them right now, but it's two homeless communities. I believe there's uh, between 80. One is like 80, maybe 80 different units, and the other one's like maybe a little bit over 100.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Particularly for like homeless transitioning type thing, and I think it's difficult to put these places anywhere because of NIMBY, the whole not in my backyard thing. Everyone wants something to happen, but not close to them, which is usually because they feel like a person who's home is going to bring street activities close to their house, basically, which
Street
is
activity.
which is what comes down to it. That's what it is.
What is street
They
activity?
they think most people think that the homeless are on drugs, or they know people on drugs, or all the things you can think that are bad, and they don't want it by their house.
Yeah.
So if you get funding for these type of different these different programs, it's often difficult to place them somewhere in a place.
Well, because the issue isn't from my experience of actually going down there and being around people who are in that situation. It was a while ago, but
Mm-hmm.
just being down there and actually going to try something, to do something, right? I feel like many of those people, the issue isn't the fact that they don't have a house.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see some of the videos like that they post on their social media platforms, it becomes very clear that this is not an issue about people who just don't have a house,
Mm-hmm.
right? A lot of the people who are there aren't even from California. They
Yeah,
just they just come here because
I've heard
it's
that too.
easy. It's easy to be homeless.
Yeah,
You
you
get
have
the beach.
more resources here, in terms of like government programs, and then the weather is
Hmm.
all around your weather where you can be outside and not freeze to death, or you know suffer from dehydration in some of these hot states.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was, I don't want to start making up percentages, but it was a lot of percentage of homeless that weren't actually from California.
Yeah.
So I've heard somebody say like, what is California doing about their homeless? And it's like, I don't know, Arizona. You tell us. This is they come from you.
Yeah.
Places like Texas, Arizona. These are your homeless technically,
There's a lot
but
of
just
people
don't
from
have
Dallas.
those resources where they come from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So um, yeah,
It's strange.
it's
It's
it's crazy.
strange. I've never been one to be like, yo, I'm leaving California. I'm kind of thinking about it now. I just don't know where to go. I don't know where to go. Where am I go? Like,
you ain't going nowhere.
nah, man, I'm kind of thinking about it. It's getting to a point where like, because they have a bill, right? And I'm pretty sure it won't pass. But there's a bill that's being circulated like right now about uh taking the beaches away from the public and making them the space for homeless people. And even if it doesn't get passed, the fact that something like that can get drawn up and pass multiple checkpoints to people who are supposed to be some type of smart, right?
Yeah.
And make its way amongst our representatives. Like, just the fact that they can do that is like, I don't want to wait until they get to the point where they do something that's so ridiculous to where it's like, okay, you have to leave or you can't leave. You know what I mean? So I'm just thinking. I'm not saying I'm going nowhere. I'm thinking about it. I'm just thinking like it might be time to go.
Yeah. Well, I don't see that ever happening. It's difficult to have some discernment though, where you have situations like that or that are really outlandish that kind of bubble to the when we talk about these different topics. So it's just interesting that people don't have like any, or I would say the ideas that are useful don't rise to the top, because the ideas like let's just let everybody live on a beach, that's going to get more clicks and bait. That's going to get, obviously I'm interested to understand what are you talking about.
It's gonna get more.
But if
It's
it's going to get more traction off top.
yeah, but it's
So I would
it's
I would
bad.
I would have to challenge myself to look further into the ideas that are actually sustainable than lean all the way into the ideas that are completely insane.
Yeah, but they shoot those down. That's the thing. It's like, okay, here's an idea. Let's build some more stuff. Oh, no, 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 no. We don't need to build.
Yeah.
We don't need to build anything. In fact, if you do build, we'll make it so expensive that you know that you'll just stop building.
Yeah. Even permits and
That's what I'm saying.
labor costs and materials. I mean, all that stuff is expensive.
They'll do what they have to do to make it a burden, to make it burdensome. But then
Yeah.
like, so it's clear that none of this comes from like common sense. They're trying to find ways to get the votes they need. Right? That is it. That is all.
Yeah.
That is all they're doing. They're going wherever the majority or the loudest voice in the room is. And if you're not in the room because you're doing other things, you don't have a voice. Right?
Yep.
And it becomes annoying. And it's like, well, again, I'm not moving tomorrow. I'm just saying I'm thinking about it. I'm really really thinking about like where I can go, because I don't want to wait, man. Like I don't want to wait until it's to the point where it's just ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing about the states, there's an opportunity everywhere. That's for sure. I think many people get caught up in staying in one place for so long or holding on to a place. So I'm a huge component of move if you need to. I'm more so move for the best opportunity for each individual person. If the opportunity is not where you are, move. um, that's a huge thing for me, and that's for people who complain about how high rent is in certain areas, or how high real estate is in certain areas. You can just move. I mean, especially places like California. Um, here's a secret. Black folks actually migrated to California. We in droves. So it's okay to migrate somewhere else for better opportunity. So
Yeah.
not to say, people weren't here, but it's if you look at your history, most likely you're from a different state other than California.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if there's more opportunity anywhere, because people get caught up in how high, specifically real estate prices are in LA County, Orange County, these different, expensive counties. Um, which is so weird because the median household income is 75,000, where the median house is, when was the last report? It's like 600,000-700,000, something like that.
Something like maybe
And I'm
8.
just like, how? I'm like, how? Like, there's a lot of people that should have been moved. So for a better opportunity. And it's not to say that everyone can do that, but I think there's a high percentage who can. We're not talking about the people who are completely desolate where they have no choice to move.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's many people who do have the choice to move, but they want to stay because I don't know, there's things to do. And I guess, once they give the beach up, that won't be a reason to stay. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Which is it's crazy, man. Because like Venice, like I don't know if you've ever. I'm gonna take you through Venice. The next time you're down here, we gonna just I'm gonna show you some properties in Venice and show
I've
you how
been
close, like
I've been
just
looking
how
at it.
close it is.
There's a YouTuber who kind of blew up. Isn't it? It's German in Venice. If you look on YouTube, and he's just
Mm-hmm.
a regular Venice resident that been here like 30, 40 years. He's German, obviously, and he's always wanted to be in Venice. So he came to Venice and lived here for like 30, 40 years or something. So he kind of goes like, um, what it used to be and what it is now. And he kind of goes out in this little electric motor scooter and kind of goes to look at Venice and take pictures and videos and post them
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube. And he got a lot of flack for that in some ways, where people are like, you're taping the homeless, but and that could be said, but other things can be said, that he's given some type of um, exposure to some of these things, because
Mm-hmm.
someone who doesn't live, specifically in Venice, I can still see what's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it can start conversation. I mean, we're having a conversation now that someone might pick up and say, "Hey, I have an idea." So I don't know. I think those type of things spark conversation. But I've been
Yeah.
watching his videos for a few months, and it is wild. And it's not just Venice; it's downtown LA. It's Hollywood, um, where the homeless issue is rampant everywhere. Um, Echo Park, I've seen Echo Park. They closed down Echo Park all the way down,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think they drained the water, but they cleared everyone out. It was a huge homeless encampment, and regular residents couldn't really use the park space, so they closed everything down, cleaned everything out, and just reopened it like sometime last week. And now it's a public space again. Um, but yeah, it's crazy.
That's strange.
It's
Like
crazy.
what I don't understand is like how is that not strange to people? Like and
Mm-hmm.
to because they can just tell us it's the cost of housing or but all of this has been done. All of this has been done by things that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is a symptom of things that they've done. It's not because
Like,
the cost of housing has gone up, like, or a stadium is built. Now people are
mm-hmm.
homeless. Like what? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's not how it works. And because that becomes believable, right? It almost gives the politicians more clout
Mm-hmm.
because in a way they can say, well, I'm for you, so we're just going to allow everyone to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you quickly realize, like, again, when you really look into the issue, if you've ever been hands on with this issue, you quickly realize like it's deeper than people who just don't have a home. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are much bigger things happening with them.
Yeah, yeah. It's multifaceted, and it didn't happen overnight either. And
Like
it's
when the
just
crack
it's so many
when the
different
crack
symptoms.
era when the crack era happened, was there a homeless explosion? Did they call it homeless or did they call it something else?
I'm not sure.
Well, because yeah, but I'm just if you look back in history, they never call it the homeless era,
Mm-hmm.
and tons of people are in jail, right? From
Yeah.
that span of time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
but why is it the homeless? Like, why is there a homeless problem? Why is it a homeless problem now? I mean, clearly, when
Mm-hmm.
you actually go down there and you interact with these people, these aren't just people who don't have a home.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it not something else?
Right. Like what?
I'm trying.
Look, I'll say it like this. There's multiple reasons why people are homeless. So to answer your question, I think from a voter standpoint, I think people have more empathy for someone who's homeless than they do for someone who's on drugs. Um, because as we've seen in the 80s during the crack epidemic, there was no remorse for people who were on drugs. It was just get yourself together.
But there was a very specific reason why there was no there like that was the
Because
case though.
they feel like
Because
if you're on drugs,
crack
it's
was
your
only
fault.
well no, but crack was only in very specific neighborhoods. Yeah, I mean,
Talking
I
about
don't
the
want to.
homeless.
Yeah, I don't really want to go deep down that rabbit hole. It was just
Yeah.
you know these past. I'd say this past week has been just you know a tsunami of various different things, and that was just part of it. You know what I mean? And so just I've really been thinking about just a lot of that, just kind of internalizing a lot of that stuff, and just thinking about how to make how to make the best move with that in mind. Especially with the way
Mm-hmm.
everything is going. You know what I mean? Like it's just a lot. It's a lot of different things going on, and I see why when things get the way they are now, a lot of the people who have been involved or they've been active in the markets and whatnot, I see why they just step away.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you try to if you try to be involved on a certain type of level, it could consume you and like drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you figure someone's been here 20, 30 years fighting all these different things that come up to, protect their best interests. Um, as you age and you slow down, you get tired. You're tired of fighting. So
Mm.
I mean, I can see the 60 or 70-year-old like I'm out. I did what I could. I fought a good fight, but you young enough to stay. So
Nah, man, I'm out. Like I'm stepping back. I'm kind of chilling. I'm not gonna be active in different ways. Like even when it comes to stocks and stuff, like I probably only bought like two or three companies in the past
Mhm,
like since January.
mhm,
I bought Intel, I bought Oracle, and I bought some more Apple. And I bought a company called GSK, like
mhm,
GlaxoSmithKline or something.
mhm,
Um, other than that, I haven't bought anything. And then there's so many people just pitching to buy certain companies or whatever,
mhm.
and it's like, you know what, I'm out.
So are you out as in withdrawn, or are you grabbing your ball and going home?
No, it's just I'm not because I'm someone who had like I have to learn, I have to know, I have to learn. um I got to look into it. So if,
Mhm.
if i if i keep hearing about a specific thing, I'm gonna look into it, right?
Yeah.
And even if it doesn't really fit my discipline, I
Mhm.
feel like I have to look into it to be prepared for when I'm asked about it,
Yeah, and
right?
I think that was where my question came from at the beginning of the podcast is how do you choose to go down the rabbit hole? Because
Yeah.
some aren't healthy, they're time consuming, and sometimes obviously it's just not wasted, worth the time going down them. Like you said, if they don't fit your discipline or your certain criteria. And I've had to learn over some time to just push things out if they don't serve you, or serve me. So I've been real careful about going down certain rabbit holes um, that can be, because they're time wasters too. Um, they do get the brain firing in a certain way too, like connecting dots, which I do enjoy, and looking at that. I enjoy that process, but it's time consuming too.
Yeah,
That's
it
why I
is.
ask, like, I don't
It
know, you
is.
have to have like a set criteria of like,
Um,
do I really want to? Like I was telling you earlier today, I got off the phone with one of my partners, Greg, and I was talking to him, and we were just talking about the current state of everything, and um, we talked about the scamming that's going on and all the different PPP can't scams and all these different things. And he's the one that actually told me about that video. The was it
oh, the
Scam
scam
Bible?
Bible.
It's a rap video called the Scam Bible. So if anybody wants to see that, um, and I watched it, I'm just like, this person is basically teaching people how to scam through rap. And so I watched that video. It's a quick, like 2-minute video, and um, I started seeing other videos. This is on YouTube. YouTube is a great rabbit hole to really go down. Um, and I was like, do I really want to click on the next video? Because you can see like in the comments who they start talking about, and it was the other guy you mentioned. They came up, and I was just like, do I really want to? I was like, no. I just logged
Yeah.
out. So you kind of have to
Yeah.
like figure out which direction you want to go. Because sometimes surface level is just fine. Uh, would I have learned anything new or useful from watching the next 6 to 7 videos?
Well, I think
I'm not
that's I
sure.
think that's the I think that's the deciding factor, right?
Mm,
Like so, and it's a little bit different when it comes to investing because
yeah, of course.
investing is really about like perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and value is like relative. So it's like, okay, well, if I could look at this company and find something good about them, either I could find something that works for me, or potentially if I'm asked about it or if a situation arises where I can use that information, it's beneficial to know it.
Right.
Right. And so I kind of gauge it based on that. But now I'm kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, if I get asked about anything, I'm like, nope, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't do that. I don't know.
Because
Yeah,
I
because
like
I mean, you'll
it's
spend a
just
majority of time just swatting down different
it's
things
too
that
much.
don't make sense. Yeah.
It's way too much to be, and the main thing comes from the desire to be a resource and to help.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be the first one to say I don't have the answers. I don't know everything. Um, but I have enough experience and I've done enough research to be able to provide you with some type of insight
Mm-hmm.
on certain things. And so, when you hear people, especially when there's people close to you, and they're speaking on things incorrectly, you want to help them. You want to correct them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to make it like like I know more than you. It's to
Mm-hmm.
help you out. It's like, yo, like that's not what that means.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of like, you know what? Go ahead, man. Jump off the cliff.
You know, something that's been working for me lately, rather than telling people, and these are people who aren't my clients, obviously. I think um, clients want to have a certain perspective, and they want to know um, on so many levels what they should do based on their criteria or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They want the best, um, the best scenarios laid out, and then usually they can make the best decision on their own. Many times they still want your navigation to make those decisions. But anyways, for the person who's not my client and the person is just talking about whatever topic, the thing I like to say now is the phrase I use is have you considered? Start with have you considered? And I think this is a game changer because it's not directly pointed to that's wrong and you should do it this way. It's have you considered this, whatever that is. And I think that might be a better strategy. I find that's a better strategy because it leads them down their own rabbit hole of knowledge searching and revelation. And you're not just the hater who who disagreed with their thoughts or their ideas. It's just have you considered this? And I think that's less invasive, and in many ways it's more accepted by the listener in my experience. So I'm going to try more of that. So I would say
Yeah, I
try more of
mean,
that. Have you
maybe you're
considered
right.
it? Whatever, and then send them on their way. Because if they're not your consultant or you're not consulting them, they're not your client. It's not, you know, I don't think it's any reason to go down that conversation if it's not a paid one, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, I've spent many years saying a lot of words and they just fall on deaf ears, you know?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's because um I can't help but just like it just comes out, right? So if I hear something
Mm-hmm.
or a certain word, it comes out because it's
Yeah.
it's it's fresh in my brain. It's what I do, right?
Yeah.
So um maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's just because like we're not in the actual consultation. I don't have time to pull out a piece of paper or a whiteboard
Mm-hmm.
to to be able to explain to you why I think the way I do about
Mm-hmm.
this specific thing. And it's more so like trying to pass on years of understanding on how to think
Mm-hmm.
into
Yeah.
this small moment of time,
Yep.
to bring them up to speed. And so it's like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But
And no one's receptive to that.
yeah.
It's like when you listen to like a lecture that they say you actually you actually take or absorb like 12% of the information or something. It was very small,
Hmm.
and I don't think people train themselves to take away like key concepts. Like even when you're reading a book or reading information, just try to take away at least three different concepts you can take
Hmm.
away with you, or listen to a lecture or even this podcast. Take away three concepts, and if that's to me, take away one concept that you can use and mold and go down your own rabbit hole or whatever it is. And because I think many times when we speak, and I think this is why we choose our words a lot, because you can just speak in it and you're saying too much for people to absorb.
Hmm.
And one thing, just like in school, no one's willing to raise their hand and ask a teacher like or tell them I don't understand that. Most people don't say, hey, can you run that back? I don't understand what you just said. Can you give me more clarity? um,
But see,
and that's
maybe
been since
maybe
grade school.
I think that's the disconnect though, because I'm that person.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm the person who said that doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, tell
Yeah,
me.
make it make sense.
Hmm. And so that might be the disconnect when because you explain something or you tell somebody something or you share something, and then you're waiting for the confirmation of, does this make sense? Not is it right or wrong, just
Mm-hmm.
does it make sense?
Right, right.
And you can clearly see it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it requires a deeper dive.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can tell, like, it's like, well, either A, they just don't want to believe it, right? Because they don't want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you to be right, because that means they would have to change,
Mm-hmm.
right? um or they just don't have the patience.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would even look at, have you considered that it's not important if they get it or don't get it.
It's not important. It's not important. It's natural. I'm telling you, it's a natural. It's like it's second nature. Like if something comes up, it triggers it. It's like no, like that's not. It could be anything. Like we could be at lunch or something, and somebody could talk about like a watch or a car, and it's hard for me just to hold it in and not say like the thing that if what they're saying is a little bit off, like it's hard for me to not be like, well, here's the right information.
Like, well, actually,
because
actually,
because I feel like people just allowing you to just freely walk around and be ignorant doesn't help you.
I get that.
It doesn't help you at all. And you'll be in spaces where the people around you could either greatly impact your life or change it, and then you go and say something ridiculously ignorant because you've just been allowed to say it, like for your entire life. And now it's like I don't know, like because have you not done that before? Like, oh yeah, this person's cool, and then they say something, it's like, nah, never mind. Actually, you're not
withdraw cool. Everything I said.
I take that back. Like, so I feel like if you can offer perspective, and that's something I try to do with anybody, right? Like I don't go out much, but anytime, like I think that's something we both do, honestly. Anytime we do go out, if we're around people, we just try to leave them with something, because everybody's time is valuable. So if someone decides to share some of their time with you, I feel like you have to make it worth something. Otherwise, the exchange isn't valuable, which is why you have friends that you'll see often, and then you have other friends that you won't see at all, because the exchange isn't as valuable. Yeah. Right. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of how I see it.
Lately, I've been focusing on not so much leaving people with something, but trying to gain more of their perspective. So I think lately I've been just asking more questions, just to get a context of why people think the way they think, or not so much just what they think, but just or why the way they think, but just getting more context of who that person is. Whether it's them just talking about where they're from, or who they're raised by, what they do for a living, what gives them some type of peace, or whatever it is. I kind of lead with more questions, and I think again, that just helps me get more perspective on who the person is, because because I know what I know. If I show up and I just say what I know, I'm no longer learning. So if there is an opportunity within that time of asking them questions, or trying to maybe uncover something I don't know about them, or about the way they think, it could be an opportunity to relay, how I think, or what I know might help them in whatever they're doing. And in that way, it just makes it, I think it makes it more fluid, and I think it gives me more perspective on how people are and why they do the things they do.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I'm all that interesting. So I just I like to see what other people got going on. Because I'm with myself all the time. I'm always in my head, and it's just so much. So that's why I can't wait to we really start opening up again, and where it's comfortable enough to actually speak to people and see what's going on and how things operate in other people's mind. So I can't wait for some type of normalcy that comes back to where we can practice those things again.
I would agree. I mean, it's I don't know, man. It's just maybe I'll take that approach. I mean, I do ask questions to try and like figure things out. Because I'm an observer more than anything, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
always, listening, and I may not say much at first, but if we're having a real conversation about something, like I can't do like the small talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like it has to at some point it becomes like this is a consultation.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
because people want to
Right.
talk to you about, real estate, stocks,
Yeah.
finance,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's only so much of, like the first level stuff before it becomes like a full blown,
Right.
like,
Right.
okay, I see where you're going,
Yeah.
look at this type thing.
I get that too. So, do you enjoy speaking about those things?
Yeah, I know I do in a sense, but only if it's received.
Mm-hmm.
Like I enjoy helping people get to a certain point,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to like process and think about things a certain way. Like I
Right.
enjoy that. But if it's just to talk about it, because that's something that happens too, where people come,
Mm-hmm.
because again, you mentioned that we've been doing this for a long time, and when we started, nobody who was our age was interested in these types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
in many ways, people have been kind of like waiting to, you know, even if they don't really know you, they've kind of been
Mm-hmm.
waiting to get to a point to have this conversation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And in many instances, they're not really listening. They're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
prove to you that I can have this conversation too.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And that
Yep. I
happens
can see
even
that.
outside of
Yeah.
people that just people you meet. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times there isn't real dialogue. It's just, I can have this conversation too. It's not
Yeah.
You're not really
Yeah.
exchanging, it's not really fruitful.
Yeah.
You know
I
what I
can see
mean?
that too. It's a yeah. It's a measuring contest at that point, and
Yeah.
that's what doesn't make it enjoyable.
Mm.
Um, and I think it doesn't nothing comes from it. And 'cause I'm trying to figure out. That's what I'm asking you. 'Cause I'm trying to figure out why, in some cases, I don't like talking about those things. And I'm just like, you start thinking about the person who really enjoys their work or what they do is like they always want to talk about it. And when you said that, I think something clicked. Of it's two different conversations happening. There's the actual
Mm.
genuine conversation of two people talking. You know how we sit down and talk about these different things,
Mm.
and it's like, oh, okay, we can talk about it. But then there's the other conversation, which you're mentioning, is the person who wants to show you that they either know more than you, or they can have that conversation with you and stand on the same footing in some way, or they can talk over you,
Yeah.
or out um out bar you or out information or you or whatever it is. And I think that's what I wasn't picking up, the the difference in those different conversations.
Yeah.
And the latter is what I don't enjoy. And I think that's why I always shy away from talking about these things. I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I talked about that for 12 hours.
Every day.
So I really don't want to talk about that. And it's not,
Yeah.
so if I'm at dinner, I'm trying to relax, or I'm trying to have, a whiskey or something, or I'm trying to unwind. It's like I don't want to talk about those things,
You said the magic
unless
word.
unless they're the first of like we just kind of chopping. Um, so yeah, that's interesting. That's a very thin line of what that conversation is.
And it's easy
Um,
to pinpoint. You know what I mean? Especially because, as real estate professionals, man, we make a lot of phone calls and we talk to a lot of people. And so you develop a skill to be able to like determine what this conversation is really quickly.
right.
And so especially in social settings where, people try to show up And like you said, just try to outbar you. It's like, relax, man. Like who am I? Who am I to be trying to you know what I mean? Like, who do you think I am to be sitting here trying to compete with me about something that I've been doing for 15 years?
Yeah.
And then here you come and you bought a condo.
Yeah. I told you about the last person that wanted to basically correct me on my math. I put out some information about a property and how much what the breakdown was, down payment and the payment and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Are you sure? My payment was such and such." I'm like, I basically asked, "Do you have these key things that you need to even think about actually getting this calculation?" No. Okay. Well, what are we talking about? Like, you don't even have the thing. You don't have the values to plug in to get the number that I received.
Yeah, to get that result.
So how could you know if it's wrong or right? Let's just start there.
More importantly, why do you feel that it is your position to tell me if it's wrong or right?
I don't know. It's like we do two different professions. We've both been doing that same profession for the same amount of years. So I don't tell you, yo, are you sure you did such and such on your job right? Like, but
why would they be comfortable
to do that?
Why would they be comfortable in telling you that, but they hold no accountability for these guys on the internet?
I don't know. It's just, I think when you're in a certain industry like real estate, where people can kind of get a glimpse behind the curtain by being a participant, by buying their own real estate, they now feel like they are now not only a participant in real estate, but um, um, a, a I guess a professional in that space now.
Yeah, they feel like they have equal footing.
Working professional. Yeah. Just because I go buy a suit, it doesn't make me a tailor. I just bought a suit. I may not know how to the right cut, and how to tailor this suit. It's not my profession, right? I may not know the different materials, et cetera, et cetera. So I think it's just a certain level of arrogance of people, particularly in our, and I don't see it too much in commercial. It's usually just over people's head, but particularly in the residential market, in the residential space, where people feel like just because they bought a residential home, they are now a professional of buying homes, and you see this a lot. And like you may be consulting a client on their real estate purchase, and you'll hear from their aunt, uncle, cousin, brother, that whatever they're doing, whatever we're doing as far as the purchase of their property, is somehow wrong or is different than what they did, or what the uncle did, or mother did, or mom did, whenever they bought their house 20 years ago.
Yeah, but it is different because it's 20 years ago.
Yeah, but you have the person saying, well, when I bought my house, it wasn't like that. When I bought my house, so it carries on too. So a person can buy their house 20 years ago and they still a professional buying homes. Now they relate that profession to whoever else is handling their actual transaction of their family member or whatever friend. And I don't know, it's just a certain arrogance around someone who buys a real estate property who now believe they're professional.
Because it doesn't take any data. This is why I can't sell residential. It takes no data. It takes no data to quantify value in residential. Now there are guys who are able to do that, right? They know what to look for. But for the average realtor and the average person, there's no way for them to quantify value. It's literally just the price went up. And maybe because, as you mentioned, like with a suit, you buy a suit, doesn't make you a tailor, but maybe because it's attached to a financial gain. You know what I mean? There's the appreciation component attached to it. So people feel like they make a smart decision because it made them some money, or it made or lost them some money. So that's probably where that comes from, right? It's like, oh well,
Yeah.
I made some money, so how could I be wrong?
Yeah, I did something right.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's one of the reasons why I can't, like, I mean, it does happen in commercial, but what you often find out, which I'm sure you dealt with, but what you often find out is they were just posturing.
Oh, it's a lot
Right.
of that. That's a
Yeah,
lot of that.
they're posturing until you get, because once you see the P&Ls and their rent rolls, that's when you know the whole story. And
Yeah.
they were trying to avoid showing you that because they were lying to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Once books and records come out, everyone gets
yeah,
real humble.
yeah.
Everyone's getting
After that, it's like,
real
oh, okay,
humble.
all right. Now you're the best friend. But
Yeah. It's like, okay, now we know. It's like, your dirty laundry's out. It's all out
yeah,
here. So let's
in residential,
let's
that's
chill.
not something that's not required. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
I
it's a
I
little bit
think
different.
I think it is required for a certain level of professional who's going to actually look at data trends over the last 10 years, or
Yeah, but who has time to do
but
that when you got 50 offers?
I think the issue is there's a certain amount of people flooded into residential who can get a license, and the bar for getting a residential license is very low.
Mm-hmm.
So the person who just basically paint by numbers, it can get you by, and you can do very well if you just paint by numbers and not go deep.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those people usually do well because you can keep it on the surface level and explain it in a way that's easily consumed by the consumer or
Mm-hmm.
by the client. So I think once you once I crossed into commercial where it's more data driven and continue to do residential, you have to hold back to a certain degree because you can give too much information in a space where the client will be overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
Some clients, right? I don't want to
No,
just
that's, yeah,
blanket them, but they'll
yeah.
be overwhelmed with information where the paint by number person can come in and say, hey, 1+1 = 2. And they like, yes. So I think in some ways, I know for me, for sure, I may be, I don't say too analytical because I'm usually able to show the numbers in depth and then step back, which I think is the best way to do it. But I may be inserting the way I want to see things presented to me
Mm-hmm.
also. So I don't know. You kind of have to gauge the client. But yeah, I think in some ways you don't you don't need to know a whole lot, and those people are usually very successful because they're very surface level and they do very well. It's just like they just knocking them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's real estate is the pretty people business.
Mm-hmm.
It's just what it is. It's like,
Yeah.
I've never seen a successful realtor who was ugly. Have you?
Right.
Have you? I've never seen I've never seen a realtor who was ugly that was really like closing deals.
I think it's likability
That's part of it. You
for
definitely have to
sure.
be good to work with.
Yeah.
But you tell me, you can say somebody was ugly. Okay, we all know what
I don't
ugly
see,
look like.
you don't see too many like just dead, definitely unattractive people in real estate for sure. For sure. You know.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. You don't just see like just like no, you got to
You gotta
work in
have
the
something.
office.
You gotta have something going for you aside from, like, everything
Yeah.
else is a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, all the other
Yeah.
skills are a bonus. But then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
like you can do that too. Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true. It's like okay, and you can actually get the deal done. Okay,
yeah.
and I'm sure that works for both sides. The
Mm-hmm.
each person has somebody to look at.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
could
because
tell by, if you just go on Instagram and look at the pages of successful realtors.
Mm-hmm.
Like 9 times out of 10, they're not actually posting content that relates to transactions. They're
Mm-hmm.
posting things that make it look fun, that make them look better.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not about the actual job. It's about making it
Yeah.
look good.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's a huge issue for women's too, because um, I've heard one case study from one woman who was in commercial. She's an attractive woman, and she said it's difficult sometimes to take meetings because a lot of times the people who want to meet with her just want to basically be on
They
a
want to
date,
date. Mm-hmm.
and it's like, well, I'm here to do business, and they basically here to date. So that's been one thing is I mean, that's pretty gross. But that's
People are gross.
that's difficult though. That's difficult for especially for a woman in this industry. And I don't have any like cases that I've heard from people in residential, but I'm almost sure it's the same. And
Of course, because you got to think the barrier to entry is much lower. So
yeah.
if you're a realtor and you bump into somebody, like you're the person who you could service can be anyone. You could bump into them at Target, you can bump into them at the
Mm-hmm.
bar, right? Oh, I work in real estate. Oh, really? I've been thinking about buying a house.
Mm-hmm.
Can we, can we go set an appointment?
Right.
So maybe show me some properties.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is different when it comes to buying a building. Like you're not gonna bump into that person at Target.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you did, 9 times out of 10, they're not gonna tell you they own a building. You know?
Yeah. On the buyer side, you're right. On the buyer side, anybody can be a buyer of potentially be a buyer of residential.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that on commercial.
No,
We know
not at
there's
all.
a certain amount of buyers in the market. But on the seller side, it can be similar because when you're selling commercial real estate, you go straight to the source who owns the property.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go direct to the commercial owner, call them directly, or get in contact with them, right? Meet them at their office or wherever you can. And it's the same for selling residential too. Door knocking, going direct to the house,
Mm-hmm.
presenting what's sold recently. Um, so that game is the same. But yeah, you're right. In terms of buyers, that's the lower hanging fruit in residential because
Yeah.
potentially anyone can be a buyer. But the sellers is where it's at for
Yeah.
sure.
We
That's what
actually
keeps you in business.
we had a couple women on our team, but more recently, um, we have one. She's a black woman too. And she kind of went through similar things where, because she was really, really good on the phones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but again, what would happen is, you know, the guys are more interested in just meeting her.
Yeah.
And so, we always made sure that one of us showed up with her, to the,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
to the meeting. Cause
Mm-hmm.
it was very, very evident. And she was great on the phone. She did everything she needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
And she handled the situation perfectly. But it's still like that's still a thing, which is crazy. That as a professional, it's still like I need backup in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole different world.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I said I have a potential agent onboarding pretty soon, and she's a woman, and the same thing. I'm like, um, in this industry, like you have to like let people know what it is, you know. Even before I got married, it was a little when you're sitting with a husband and their wife, it's kind of like you're kind of a single guy at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I think in some ways the husband could feel like what the what is this?
You're like, why are you talking to my wife?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you get them on the phone first or you got them maybe door knocking or whatever. And it's like now you got to meet them both together. Now, usually the husband's always up on guard. Um, and that's the thing. Now you have to kind of um, break down those barriers and now say, hey, no, we're all a team. I'm just not talking to your wife on the side, which is another thing I do when I'm dealing with couples or husband and wife. because it's usually one is more active than the other. So if the wife is excited and she texting me different properties or whatever, I'm always making a, a group chat with everyone. So the husband, wife, and myself. So we're all talking on one accord, because I think what you don't want is you're texting the wife, and people text you at all hours of the night selling you real estate, especially on the residential side. You don't want a situation where you're texting the wife late at night and they say, "Hey, Doran said such and such. Doran said such and such. We should do this, such and such." And you're getting all this information from one side, and it's like, he's just texting my wife all the time.
It's like, who's this
You know what
Doran
I'm saying?
dude? Like,
Exactly. It's automatic. It's automatic because I mean, I know how guys are because I'm a guy. So, so, so just to cut that in the bud is no, okay. Let's start a group chat and get everybody on the same accord. And I think it's mostly successful that way. And I would say that for any woman that's getting into the business, who's talking to the husband directly or the wife directly, whatever it is, to make a group chat. So I found that to be successful. And then the other thing is, once I actually got married, wearing a ring kind of disarms people, because you're not out here just single and looking like you ready to mingle.
Yeah, because of course, again, it's the pretty people, but like I'm telling you, man, like where else do you work where you put on your best clothes all the time and talk to random people?
Yeah.
There's no other. I can't think of any other profession where you get paid essentially to look as good as you can.
Yeah.
Outside of like a model or something.
And where you're working like during the day, all the way up to lunch, and then you're going to happy hour, and then you're trying to put out, some offers and get some contract together. It's just like the real estate world is crazy. I mean, it's fun though. It can be fun because your work is out here with the people. So you got to be out here with the people. So it's a lot of fun that comes with it, but it's also it's also can be tiring.
Yeah,
but it's lucrative.
Yeah, speaking of the people, before we wrap up, the homie Ralph, shout out to Ralph Diesel.
Yeah, Diesel.
Him and his consortium of buddies actually just launched a new venture called Tribal. Did you see that?
Yeah, I seen that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do.
And Visa is actually in partnership with them. I don't know in what capacity or in what like how.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to talk about that. Because we talk about the hustle, we talk about doing business, the right way, not thinking small, thinking large. And he's someone who is an example of that in many ways, right? You've seen him start from selling cars, as a broker, to various other things. I know they got into insurance. Then he got into the Subway franchises, and he's flipped a couple houses or so, or one or two, to now this, right? So it's a snowball effect of money from here, put it here, money from here, put it here, and just continuous reinvestment. And I know he goes back and forth to Sierra Leone a lot, which is interesting because as Black Americans, we don't really have that ability. It's like, okay, I can go back to the city I'm from, but so maybe that's a big motivational component. But I definitely want to take the time to like mention that and shout them out on that whole venture. So make sure y'all go ahead and I think the Instagram handle is Join Tribal, JOINTRIBL.
A little bit about what it is.
From my understanding of it, because I haven't had the chance to talk to him about it, maybe we'll get him on the show. But from my understanding of it, it's basically a way to connect and unite, Pan-African, Pan-Africanism or Pan-Africanist. Basically, anyone of descent from Africa. It's a way for us to connect with each other, and exchange and trade our services, products, etc. Right? And Visa is there to serve as, I'm assuming Visa is there to serve as the medium between the two, to help with payments and whatnot. And I think there's some element of like cryptocurrency involved. So they might have their own, like a tribal coin or something to ease the that whole transaction process on the platform. So I'm gonna have to talk to him about it. That's just like a brief from what I read and what I looked into. But
exciting stuff.
To see that, I thought that was pretty dope.
Yeah, super dope. Yeah, I like the post, and I'm like, I didn't go deep into it, but I'm like, yeah, this is nice. It's nice. This is next level.
Yeah. So check him out at Join Tribal, TRIBL. Go ahead and take a look at that and like the post, spam them up. Go in the comments and hashtag AOS.
AOS. Oh. All day.
You know what I mean? Let them know what's up. And speaking of that, man, I was thinking about something earlier. I know I said I was gonna wrap up, but I was thinking about something earlier, man, and that just kind of re-triggered it. Do you feel like, given like where we come from and what statistically was supposed to be the outcome of who we are, do you feel like we've overachieved socially?
Socially?
Like within our networks? Because I feel like within our personal networks, we have a number of outliers that, and it wouldn't normally exist that way if we weren't part of other aspects of their lives, like part of the same alumni or whatever, social clubs.
Yeah. 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 I think if we stayed on the track that was pretty much, prescribed for us, we wouldn't have the certain level of network or circle. But when you were saying that, I think about how the circle continually, like, our social influence continually, like, it changes as we grow. So it's kind of fluid in that way. Like, as we grow and meet new people, and the people around us grow and they meet new people, it kind of like expands. It continues to expand, and I think there's no way to outgrow it if we stay on that same path, because there'll always be somebody who's doing so much more, right, and pushing the barriers. So I think we're unique in that space, because we have so many like real players around us, and they're pushing the barriers to where I think we'll never have a scenario where we outgrow our circle. We'll continue to grow, even if we're like separate in some ways, or like I may not talk to, like, just say Diesel all the time, or all the other people who've been in our circle for the last 15, 20 years. We'll all independently do our thing, and then we'll come together like a conglomerate. But it'll never be a way to
like just
completely outgrow it. It's like it'll be forever. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it earlier, just all the different people you can pull from, which leads to a lot of our perspectives and how we approach things, how we talk about things here. And I was like, man, I don't know if I was actually supposed to be here. And I'm not saying in like a sense of like we made it or something, but just the number, just in terms of numbers, the amount of people who surround, who are a part of our everyday lives in a sense. It's uncommon for them to be close to people. Like we didn't go to college.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we didn't
I
go to
think
school. We don't have
that's the
advanced
point.
degrees.
When you talk about should I be here, and not having those quote unquote traditional things, you're still here. So I think that answers your question in itself. It's like the people who will be in your circle will make it here,
Yeah.
regardless of uh, background, educational background, all these different things that you would think would successfully get you to the ladder and get you to the party, basically. Um, they don't matter because I can guarantee you there's somebody somewhere in their house sitting on their couch watching TV with advanced degrees without the circle.
Yeah.
Which we don't think about that, but those people are unaccounted for, even though they have the traditional things that you would think will propel you to have a successful life or a successful circle. But I think people who belong together will generally find each other.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just like the universe, you know, because you think about like even our story, like we went to like different high schools.
Yeah,
We
it's
went to
good.
like usually like when you go like to different high schools, like I don't see them people no more.
Yeah.
So we basically went to middle school. Middle school was 3 years at that time. So 3 years,
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
we basically were in proximity for 3 years, and then we're still in proximity 20 years later. So it's just like that's not like it. It easily could have been that your development didn't meet my development didn't meet your development, and we would have just went different ways. We would have never
Mm-hmm.
met, certain circles, and it's just that's just how it goes. You know, it's just how it goes. I think that's just the universe bringing the people together that need to be together, and the universe knows. They be knowing. Universe be knowing
Like,
because.
even Mike, like even Michael, like we met him as basically kids, and then
Mm-hmm.
like you know 7 8 years later, he just pops up, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and we're just like, all right, we're rolling. Where you would have thought people who were with us around those times coming up, they're no longer here, and it wasn't like no love loss for most in most cases. It's just that the universe didn't align us anymore.
Yeah.
We just wasn't around because of proximity, because we went to the same school or the same church or the same whatever these different things that usually bring people together. Outside of those things, so we had no different social. If you think about it, we had no social interaction at all. Like we had different faiths, different different high
Yeah.
schools, like
Everything.
different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you like those things like don't matter.
No, I
The
don't.
people will find each other, which is
I
which
was
is
I was
crazy. You know?
I was just talking to I was talking to the homegirl Alex the other day, yesterday actually, and she was telling me about something she was dealing with, and she has a very successful candle business,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so she was asking about a very specific situation. She was basically asking like the male perspective on like dating.
Mm-hmm.
So and it was like, well, do you include being able to afford a person in your criteria?
Mm-hmm.
And I bring that up because, as you said, people just probably just find each other, the people who belong together. And I was like, I haven't been in that position in a long time, obviously, but
Mm-hmm.
it was like, no, that's never been part of the criteria. Like if you're if you're supposed to be around, you'll be around, regardless of whatever, right? Regardless
Yeah.
of the money or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right in that sense. Like it's people find them, they find each other, or they find pieces of themselves in other people, and they just align with those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
It's
then everything
something.
else kind of falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, but I think that it lets us know that on some level we're all pushing towards the same thing. Whatever it is, we might have different goals, but like it's a core value that everyone shares on some level that transcend, race, gender, religion, all
Yeah,
these different
everything.
things that usually keep you in a certain proximity of other people. It's some core thing that we all share that keeps us together, no matter the background.
Yeah.
And I think we just got to lean into that. So, in terms of like what they call imposter syndrome now, or feeling like, I don't know, should I be here? Um, I think that question has been answered in what we just talked about. Of it's not a question of should you be here. If you're here, that answers the question.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
yeah,
just,
yeah. That makes
so it's
sense.
like you got to lean into who you are, what you know, and the universe bringing us together. And
That makes sense.
and I think my biggest thing is just don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I do. It's easy to say, but like
Yeah, that usually makes it a lot
yeah,
easier.
yeah. So
But yeah, so um, yeah, we're gonna wrap up pretty soon. But I know next week we're probably next week we're going on a big ball and ass watch trip with.
that's what you calling it. That's what you
Yeah,
calling it.
that's the working title right now with one of our partners and a listen to podcast, P Menti.
Shout out P Minty, man.
Yeah, we talked about those watches last week. He's like, yo, this is my type of podcast I'm on.
Yeah, but
So
see,
we
that's what I'm
appreciate
talking about, though.
that.
But that's what I'm talking about. The fact that like you can we can talk about these things in this way, or whatever, and then you get the you get the spillover
Mm-hmm.
into real life, and we're gonna have Pete Minty on the show to kind of give you his perspective on a lot of things, and just his personal story if he wishes to share that. But I'll never forget the day that we he joined our private stock group, and his I think it was a line in his bio that said, "I've been to places you don't even know exist." Like, and it's like when people say
Mm-hmm.
that, it's like, all right, yeah, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what that means, but
Right,
it's like, nah, because I've seen him in some places that don't even look like they're on planet Earth.
right.
So,
It's like it's not
um,
Tulum. What? Where you at?
yeah, like nah, it's yeah. He's been on some
Yeah.
boats. You know what I mean? He's been on
Yeah.
some big boats. Um, so
Bit
yeah,
on
we're gonna
that
have
too.
him on.
So
We're gonna
fuck.
have him on there, and we're gonna chop it up, talk watches and cars, obviously. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, just everything else, man. He has a lot to share.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, next week, that's Thursday, right? That's actually my birthday, which I didn't even know until you
Mm-hmm.
said that.
Yep. That's why I was like, yep, this is probably gonna be perfect.
I didn't
Probably
even
perfect.
know. I was just like, yeah,
Yeah.
Thursday works.
Yeah. I remember you saying like, yeah, specifically Thursday. I'm like, yeah, it's his birthday. That makes sense. Then I'm telling you like, yeah, it's your birthday. Well, should we go happy
I
hour other?
wasn't even
You was like, I
thinking
don't
about
know.
that.
I don't. Hey, it's my birthday.
I
But
didn't.
that I think that's the role. Like usually when my birthday, I'm like, and it's your birthday, I'm like, yeah, turn up. And then it's my birthday, like, yeah, let's turn up. So I think that's just the role of like not
Well,
really
I
feeling it on
never
your own
celebrate.
birthday.
Yeah, I never want to celebrate. So for your birthday, I'm hyped because I know you want to
That's what I'm
usually.
saying.
So
Yeah,
it's like, all
that's it.
right,
See what I'm
cool, we can
saying?
hang out.
We
But
like change energies. Like,
yeah, for me, I'm never like I I'm like, yo, we don't have millions of dollars yet. We have nothing to celebrate. Like,
yeah. I mean,
so
that's important. You celebrate each other. Be like, nah, we going out because
yeah,
I think it's important to celebrate the small wins. And I mean, if you want to, we did celebrate 10 episodes, and we still haven't actually officially celebrated that. So if you want to, you can tack on that too.
I mean, hey, works for me.
Yeah,
I'm with that. So I'm sure we'll have a lot to say about that day next week.
Yeah, we'll come back with the information today. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so follow our Instagram, Rich by Monday. You'll most likely see some stories from that day, and we'll give that to anybody who's willing to look at it.
Yeah.
And maybe we have some. Maybe I'll bring the camera out. You know what I'm saying? Get some exclusive content for the Patreon. You know.
I wasn't gonna say that, but
the full day.
I think it's funny that we have a Patreon without having a Patreon. But
yeah, no, we do. It's at Rich by Monday Patreon. So. Let's do that. I'm gonna do.
Like and subscribe.
I'm gonna do that. Yeah.
You gonna bring the camera?
Yeah.
All right.
We're gonna do
man, why not? Yo, I
like
got
vlog,
my birthday.
Like a vlog.
I got my birthday shades, man. So I don't need the outfit. I just bought the shades.
Yeah, that's all you need. Some frames.
It don't matter what else. What I'm wearing. I got the shades.
The birthday frames. All right,
it, man.
Wrap us
like and subscribe. Make sure y'all comment down below. Let us know. If we just talking a bunch of bullshit or you actually like what we're talking about. Make sure you hit the like button and let YouTube know that you guys like this type of content, so that way we can continue to show up and please the algorithm. And we'll catch y'all next week, episode 12.
Yep.